And welcome back. We're here with the roundtable of Susie Avery, who is a political consultant, Denise Illich, CEO of Illich Enterprises, and David Dulio, who is the executive director of Oakland University's Center for Civic Engagement. Folks, great to have you here again.
Well, we're back.
And we're going to be talking politics again. We know we had elections on Tuesday in different communities. Let's start off on one headline where a couple different cities were asked to vote on pot measures, having stored licenses in their cities. And Grosse Pointe Park, Keego Harbor, Rochester, and Birmingham said no to that. Thoughts about it, given how popular marijuana sales are that these cities would say no. So
I think they just think there's too many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to any of the cities who did some of the initial ones, I mean, a lot of that was medical, and now they're switting over to being recreational. But I just think people are just thinking, no, we're at the end of this now. There's a lot of cities in southeastern Michigan who have just gone through a big change because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a saturation, right? I mean, the folks that want it can get it fairly easily, and these communities obviously don't see, or the majority of the voters in those communities don't see a need to add more to the list.
There was a time, I know, when they started, like when the city of Detroit, others were starting to issue, everybody was lining up to get these retail licenses, thinking money is going to be made here, and certainly money has been made, but I think we're in a different transition time, though, about it.
Yeah, we are. I don't think there's that big pot at the end of the rainbow that they thought.
All right.
Brooks would be proud of you for saying that. Yeah, one for Brooks there. Anyways, the other thing that happened, too, is we had two mayor's races, and Kevin Coleman and Lori Stone, who are both Democratic legislators up in Lansing, won for the Westland and Warren mayors, which now they're going to be leaving. So that leaves the House at a 50-54 tie, which when you look at Democratic policies, is anything going to be done now when they're leaving shortly here, do you think?
Well, they announced today, Sonny died. So, I mean, yeah, this is it. Today's the day.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to do anything. I have to say, I know Lori Stone because she was at MSU when I was there doing some things. No one will outwork her. I mean, She went to every single solitary door in the city of Warren, proving the point that the main reason people will vote for someone is if they have met them.
Yeah. Well, she's the first female mayor for the city, which is a good thing here. So your thoughts about that?
Yeah, Democrats in the State House, they've got a choice ahead of them. Do they sit tight and wait until those seats get filled by special election whenever the governor schedules those or puts them on the ballot, or do they try to find some bipartisan opportunities with Republicans that they might be able to get over the finish line? Of course, knowing that there's the democratically held Senate and the governor still to deal with. But we'll see. Do they close up shop for a few months, or do they try to push things through in January?
Oh, you who runs the Center for Civic Engagement, do you have any optimism that they'll try to get some joint things done here? Will it be just kind of holding pattern until...
You know, there have been some bipartisan bills that have passed this year, and that always is the case, right?
Yes.
We always hear about the negativity and the nastiness and the rancor, but there is bipartisan work that happens. If it's going to be controversial, though, the relationship's been pretty frosty between the Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Democrats and Republicans, we know we have a red-hot U.S. Senate race shaping up, and Peter Meijer, former congressman, he has thrown his hat into the ring here. And your thoughts about, Mike Rogers is on the Republican side. We've got others lining up on the Democratic side. What do you think about Peter Meijer?
Fascinating, right? I think that it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates, and Mike Rogers, now that Meyer's in the race, how they navigate this GOP primary field, because frankly, neither one of them are very attractive candidates to the sort of the Trump wing of the party. Yeah. That's where James Craig is going to be strong, I think, especially if he gets that Trump endorsement. We'll see. I think the Meijer entrance makes it probably more likely that Craig comes out with it, just given that Meijer and Rogers will likely split that more traditional Republican vote.
Right. And Wayne County Executive Warren Evans in the Senate side, on the Democratic side, has already endorsed Hill Harper for the Senate, which seems kind of early, but he's come out and do it here. Dee, your thoughts about that? I know Alyssa Slotkin, she's thrown her head out there. There's other people in that race. Your thoughts about who it looks like they're in contention as the front runner here?
Well, I think Alyssa's the front runner. I think she's very strong. She's going to be formidable, but I don't think it's a layup. I think that she's going to have to work very hard in order to win that seat.
Yeah, and
Well, I think it's, I mean, both parties now have very strong candidates. I mean, no matter how you look at it, which is, sometimes we think it's all just, you know, what's happening with progressive, what's happening with the MAGA, da-da-da. But this is going to be quite a race. It's probably going to be one of the most expensive races in the United States. We apologize, as I always do, because the people listening are going to get a lot of ads on television. They're going to get a lot of mailers. They're going to get robocalls. Oh, not allowed to do it, but they'll do it anyway. I mean, people going door to door, they'll have rallies. But we're kind of back into that mode, which is for us sitting here is like normal.
well, I think that's the race that's going to get probably the most attention nationally. I mean, everyone's going to be on that race. You've got strong candidates on both sides, and more getting in every week.
And that race might tip the balance of power in the Senate.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And that'll be $100 million race.
That's right.
Easily.
Easily.
Which is crazy to
That's
think about,
crazy,
right? I mean,
right?
But
Yeah.
that's the new reality
is.
of U.S. Senate elections.
Well, speaking of elections and holding things for the moment, we've got to keep our powder dry here. Take a quick break. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters after this. And we're back with Michigan Matters, talking with Susie Avery, Denise Illich, and David Dulio. And we know there was another Republican debate, presidential debate this week. Anybody raise your hand? Anybody watch it?
I watched it.
And thoughts?
I don't like Ramaswamy.
You and Nikki Haley are in the same boat, I believe.
Yeah, and that, yes, exactly. I thought Nikki Haley came out on top with that one.
Yeah.
I thought Tim Scott held his own, and I also thought, actually, Chris Christie.
There were only four of them, though, this time.
Well, yes, because they had to meet another set of. But the strangest thing that happened was this calling, and she's a Michigan person, so that's why I bring it up. Ronna Romney McDaniel, and
He called for her to be.
to resign. He said this is the reason.
Yeah, and I noticed nobody picked that up. Everybody just let that go by the wayside here. Your thoughts about the debate, and are these debates, are they meaningful at this point? Are they worth having at this point?
I think they're always worth having, but I'm questioning how meaningful they are, just because the elephant in the room isn't there.
Right.
I mean, Trump is not there, and that's bad for these folks that are trying to knock him off his perch. Right? They need him to be there so that they can go after him a little bit and try to eat into that lead that he's got. That seems to be. If not insurmountable,
Right.
he's got a
That's
lot.
why he's not there.
Absolutely,
Right?
He doesn't.
There's no benefit
absolutely.
to him.
Why would he need to go when
Yeah.
he's there? They're all talking
Right.
about him. So, from what I saw too of it, that they weren't talking quite as much about him. They were talking more about each other. But let's go back to Donald Trump. The fact he's not there, the polling shows in key states, including Michigan, that Trump is up over Biden. My question is, do you believe that? And we're still a year out from the election next November. Is this cause for concern at this point?
Oh, I think for the Democrats, it probably is. I mean, it is. My suggestion, first of all, for the debates is stop having an audience. I mean, all of us are kind of like tired of clapping or booing or something. Just have the moderators and we can get the issues going. It's going to be an interesting task when they start getting into all these things, especially with this Ramaswamy guy if he stays in. Now they're going to have another debate.
Well, there'll be more. And you're in elections. You've run for office. There becomes a thing called voter fatigue at this point, where here we are a year out. We're not even into the home stretch or anywhere near it. It's a year away. Are people just going to tune out and just?
I mean, I think we're seeing some of that. I think that, people we've talked to that go door to door,
Yeah.
a lot of times what the candidates are saying is that people are apathetic. They're tired of it. And I kind of don't blame them. So I wouldn't get too worked up yet about the polls. I do think it's early. It's never good
Right,
to
right.
see a candidate behind that's your candidate, right? But stay tuned.
Well, I think his performance lately has brought some of this on. I mean, it doesn't seem to be as sharp as it was.
Biden.
But he's
Biden's-
been amazing. I think he's been amazing about the Israeli
But it's always the
Real quick,
perception.
real quick, you're looking at me. You want to
Oh
say
no,
something?
I'm
waiting. Jump in.
I have no doubt that those polls are accurate right now.
Right.
Yes.
We've got a year to go.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And I do think I think alarm bells are going off in the White House because I think they're
Yeah.
And I think on both sides, it's sort of, you don't hear as much about age. It's sort of like, okay, these are both older people. It's sort of like, they make us all feel young at heart sitting at the table here. But short of that, I don't think there is much about that. Real quickly, UAW, Biden met with Sean Fain in Illinois at a Stellantis plant that they had wanted to close, but is staying open after the UAW talks and so forth. He's still waiting for their endorsement. Is he going to get their endorsement?
I would imagine he will. I can't imagine that the UAW is going to endorse Trump, but I think Sean Fain is going to make him work for it a little bit.
No, he wants something. I don't know what it is, but he wants something.
To be continued here. So before we go, I wanted to mention that on Thursday, November 30th, I'm honored to have the opportunity to chat one-on-one in front of the who's who of our business and political communities at our next Breakfast Club event with Dan Gilbert, who hasn't been seen much the past few years. He'll talk about his beloved city, his journey, his challenges, and more. Dan Gilbert is an iconic, legendary force in our business community who followed the enormous legacy left by other titans of industry in our region that we're fortunate to have. The Ford family. This lady to my right, her late great father and mother, Marion, also set the tone for believing and investing in Detroit. And Gilbert has carried that ball into the 21st century. There's lots about our community that's special, but having the Motor City champions like the Fords, Illiches, and Gilberts is at the top of the list. And I'm certainly looking forward to that discussion, and I know you guys are all going to be there, in fact, for that.
We are.
So, Dee, I have to ask you, since your family really started this trend way back when, how tough was it coming into Detroit back at that point?
It was pretty tough. We had announced our world headquarters were going to be in Farmington Hills, and then the Fox Theater became available, and we got very excited, and we kind of took a vote in the family, and it was unanimous. Everybody wanted to move to Detroit, and most people thought we were crazy, that we had lost our minds. We thought that our employees, all came with us, but at the beginning it was very tough. And I think the best way to sum it is Cranes had this cartoon that was adorable, and it had a bunch of trucks leaving Detroit.
Yeah.
And us coming in.
And delivering pizzas along the way.
Right. They said, do you think they know something we don't?
I know.
I want to thank you so much for that. That's a great story here. And I want to thank you guys for being on the show. Thanks to you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we're going to see you next Sunday for more Michigan Matters.